how do people, get into the circle kind of like I have?
Yeah, for sure. That is the big question, right? Like, how do you get involved with a major brand and get support and all that sort of good stuff? And so there's a number of ways that we can find you. I guess for everybody that I'm speaking to today, it's like, we know you guys can close. We know that you guys are closers, but you got to get into the room. And so my advice I would give any fitness influencers especially, is
What's up, Fit Fam? I am here with my guy, Steven from Mizuno. Listen, I'm telling you guys, you're going to be in for a great session here at the Rev Up Fitness Podcast. Steven, what's up, guy?
Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. CJ, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm sad I'm not going to be in Miami.
Look, we're in Miami right now, but we're kind of not. We're recording previously, but listen, look, I'm telling you guys, listen, he is the marketing manager from Mizuno USA. Yo, this is going to be so beneficial, and I'm glad you guys are able to tune in. How long have we known each other, man?
Yeah, so we've met each other, I want to say, almost 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So, the relationship kicked off around the Peachtree Road Race, which is such a big event. We sponsor the Atlanta Track Club at Mizuno, and it's brought me closer to a lot of great individuals like yourself. So, it's been awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's been an amazing ride. We got some amazing things in store next year for you guys, so just make sure you stay tuned for that. But, yeah, just for our people who tuning in, don't know much about Mizuno, we're going to obviously cover a little bit about that. But first, tell us about you. How did you get started in the industry? Where's your background? How did you get started?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. Lifelong runner, came up through high school, grew up in Illinois, running cross country, track and field, out in the cornfields, and decided, hey, I need to change the scenery. Ended up earning a scholarship to the University of Colorado, where I was at Buffalo. Was a part of a couple national championship squads for CU. And then while I was in school, I actually decided, I really like this running thing. How do I get more involved in this industry? And I started working for a local running specialty store called Fleet Feet Sports. And Fleet Feet Sports was based in Boulder. And that really got me my grounding in the industry. And I started seeing, hey, there's other opportunities outside of just running as an athlete. You can work actually in sport. And so I did that. As a sales associate, learned how to fit people. Saw a lot of really nasty feet, some nice feet, but most nasty. No, kidding. But it was a great learning experience. Really learned how to communicate with customers, take feedback, find solutions to problems, and just fell in love with the whole sport of running in a different way through the industry of running and fitness.
Yeah, because I on the flyer, for the conference, we said 16-year, veteran, and I was like, wait a second, how old is this guy? But we won't talk about that. But no, that's really cool. So that just kind of got you. You were always a runner, and you were someone who was into fitness all the time, or was this something where you just ran, but you didn't really do weights or anything like that?
Yeah, no. So family of athletes. Grew up playing basketball. Actually got to play against Darius Miles, who has an awesome podcast. If you haven't heard him, he has a great podcast out there. I was a freshman when he was a senior at East St. Louis, and he went to the league right out of high school. So I had to make a tough decision and put all my eggs in the running basket. But, played a lot of sports. Found out that running was probably going to be the best path to college and not having a ton of student debt. So decided to take that route, and then everything kind of just progressed from there.
Okay, cool. And how did Mizuno find you, or did you find them?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's running probably similar to kind of influencers and the whole fitness industry and ambassadors and things like that. It's a real incestuous industry. And so we all kind of know each other. And I actually had a friend who was working at Mizuno at the time. He had made a post on LinkedIn. I saw it, reached out to him, said I was interested. I was still living in Colorado at the time, and we had a couple of conversations, just backstory around it, trying to do my due diligence and understand what I was getting myself into. And I was like, you know what, I really need to make this official. Applied for a job actually working in footwear product. And that friend that I talked to ended up moving on, and I kind of, sort of migrated into his role as the marketing manager, and it's been great learning product and then also being on the marketing side now as well.
Yeah. So you've been doing it for how long now? How long have you been there?
So I've been at Mizuno for a little bit over 3.5 years, living in Atlanta, wife, 3 kids, so stay super busy. But Mizuno's been an awesome company to work for, a lot of rich tradition. A little bit of backstory about the company. started in 1906. It was two brothers that started it, Rahachi and his younger brother, and they actually started the company after coming to America and seeing the sport of baseball. And so they went back to Japan and decided to make, baseball gloves and balls. And then it just sort of evolved into, the full scale that you see it at today and all these different categories. But it just started as a family business.
Yeah, that's where it all starts, right? It all starts as a family business and probably out of a garage somewhere or something small. And now, I mean, man, you're making apparel for the Atlanta Braves, for just all these different brands. And for the people who don't know, like, what are like some of the leagues and some of the teams that you guys are, backing?
Yeah, sure. So you just mentioned the Atlanta Braves, who we're really involved with. We also sponsor a number of college teams. So those sponsorships change from year to year. And then we've got Brooks Koepka in golf. We've got some really good golfers playing our irons. On the running side, we've got Atlanta Track Club, the Atlanta Track Club elite team, Abe Alvarado, Lotto Olympic hopefuls, Couture Orji, who was the NCAA Division I athletes women of the, of the century. So she is a rock star, won 7 out of 8 national titles in a possible 8. So that's just unheard of stuff. So she won the Bowerman Award, and we're proud to have her jumping in our gear.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll be honest, like, until you guys reached out to me, in recent years, I had no clue how big the company was, right? And then, when someone reached out to you and you're like, wait a second, okay, cool, this is a cool company. And I thought it was just literally a running company. I thought it was just about running. And then I realized there's golf and then there's baseball and there's all these other parts of the apparel line. I'm just like, wow. Like even, when I got hooked up with, I guess, a Mizuno golf hat from you guys. It was like a golf visor. I was like, yeah, it was just so cool. And then I just see it across so many different lines of business. I think a lot of people don't know about it, but now we're putting people onto game about how big it is. But it's cool. I know going into like the transitioning here into when it talks about fitness influencers and ambassadors and people that you guys work with. People, this is the number one question. A lot of people ask me this question, like, how did you get aligned with Mizuno? How does that happen? And I'm like, to be honest, I feel like a lot of it is just, putting out the right consistent content, the right energy, the right hashtags to be able to for people to be able to find you and for people to explore you. You want to talk about that a little bit? Like, how do people, get into the circle kind of like I have?
Yeah, for sure. That is the big question, right? Like, how do you get involved with a major brand and get support and all that sort of good stuff? And so there's a number of ways that we can find you. There's some people who are just consistently always tagging the brand, reaching out to the brand. They're always wearing our gear, and they won't let you let them be seen. And so those people, are people that we notice first, I would say. And so if you think about like influencers, similar to you think about like how marketing sort of works on social and digital, right? You've got your always on campaign, and that's something that's just running continuous in the background, and it's just small drips of money that's going towards promoting that content. And then you've got sort of your in-feed boosted post or an advertisement, and that's something that might be more seasonal. And so how I kind of look at partnerships and things like that is, you've got your longevity, always on influencers, and then you might have your seasonal, just like you have a season where you have marathon season in the fall, marathon season in the spring, and you might have your seasonal drops. And so we have Peachtree, which is the season down here. And so your case was unique as, a lot of the always on ambassadors, they kind of find us, but the seasonal people, we have a little bit more of a challenge finding. And so we work with a PR agency, and that PR agency is called Brandware, shout out Brandware. And, they do a good job of bringing us a really nice talent pool. And so they gave us a list of names. You happen to be on that. And so, we looked at your profile. We liked what we saw. It was authentic. It was genuine, good energy. And we were like, this is a guy who we need to invite to the party. We were doing a launch party as we prepared for the next feature.
That party was dope, by the way.
It was, because it had dope people there.
This is true.
But so you got on that list, and so once we met you there, it was like, wow, this is somebody who we need to do more with. We just really enjoyed the time we spent with you there, and so from that, it kind of snowballed. We had you come on, and invited you back the following year. That was the big hurrah, the 50th anniversary of the Peachtree Road Race. We did the takeover. It was killer, crushed it, and it was like, man, how do we move CJ from being a seasonal kind of influencer ambassador for us to being, you know, an always-on ambassador for us? So we'll get into 2021 here in a few moments, but, you know, that's a little bit about how we look at it. So I guess for everybody that I'm speaking to today, it's like, we know you guys can close. We know that you guys are closers, but you got to get into the room. And so my advice I would give any influencer, fitness influencers especially, is start doing your due diligence and your background work on, like, who are the major brands that I want to be in business with? Who are they reaching out to? Who are they working through in terms of their PR and their brand strategy and things like that? And then you reach out to those people and you say, hey, I love what you guys are doing. I like how you're bringing people together. How can I be a part of that? And so, you know, it's just like I talked about my college experience running. How do you recruit yourself to someone whenever you only have 12.5 men's scholarships, but there's 23 track and field events? The math doesn't work out. So it's like, you got to be first and you got to let them know, hey, I'm interested in being on your team. What do we need to do to move forward together? And so, you know, those dollars go quick, but if you make yourself an option, you can at least get into the room and then you can close. So,
yo, this guy just dropped so many gems just now, and it's so much I wanted to say to that. But one of the things about that is what you talked about, first hitting on the point of putting yourself in front of the people you want to be seen by. So, for example, I've done this with other brands as well, where the content that I want to put, let's say if there is a particular company I want to work with, I'm going to tag them, and every time I have their product on my story, I'm doing a story and I have their product in my hand, I'm going to tag them. Every time I do a video and I have them in my video, I'm going to tag them, use their hashtags. Mm-hmm. Someone from that social media team or the possible PR agency, like you guys were saying, would see that. They will see that. And then if they're like, man, this guy is always there. Like, who is this? Eventually, you're going to look. Even if nothing comes up from it, it's just about being in front of their eyes. And if your content is good enough, that one time, that one chance that they take on going to your profile, you always want to make sure your most recent content is your best content. They're not going to scroll down to the very bottom. They're going to just take a few seconds, and if they're liking what they see for the last 10, 15 pictures, they're going to, hey, you know what? This is actually in there. So let me look a little further, and then they check the bio, and it kind of goes from there. How do they get in contact with you? Making sure your bio link works, making sure your email works so they can actually contact you, things like that. So that is, man, that was just, that hit me as soon as you said that, because that's one of the things I tell people. You definitely got to make sure you're tagging these brands and making sure you're using, hashtags to be in front of them.
No, I completely agree. And, it's true for even the interview process. Whenever we're looking at people, I'll give people a homework assignment and say, hey, like, can you put together a budget for, a marketing spend if you're going to run advertisements? And, can you give me some copy? I want to test your copywriting, and really put the pressure on them to see, have they done their homework? Do they know who our brand is? Do they know what our hashtags are? What the product launch dates are? Are they following our calendar that we're releasing things? And it's like really doing their homework. And that's whenever you've got gold with somebody. It's hard to tell, because you don't know until you put them in the position. So I think giving them a trial run like that is always a good use of your time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, so another thing you were talking about with the PR agencies, how does that work? Is that something where from the company aspect, from the corporation aspect, you go to them and say, hey, we just want 10 influencers from Atlanta for a particular season or for a particular project, and you give them the criteria and they just kind of take it and go from there? Or how does that whole process work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, so sort of how it works for our brand is exactly how you laid it out is, we'll come to them with a brief. So there'll be a go-to-market strategy brief, and then it'll talk inside the brief about, what's the overarching theme and the message that we're trying to get across to everyone. Then we'll talk about, like, how do we plan on launching, this collection or whatever the event is. And then from there, it'll give them a number of people that they have to work with and a budget. And then from that budget, it's like, hey, we want to have, a diverse group of people that reflect, who is really in Atlanta. And so, like, that's the big thing. And, I think the important thing to note is, like, the value that you bring and to understand that. And like I was saying, those always on people versus those seasonal people, I think they talk to each other the same way. There's people that say, hey, I do the Peachtree every year just because it's the Peachtree Road Race. It's the largest 10K. We stand by it. We're Atlanta. And so that seasonal runner is probably also following that seasonal influencer for the moment. So, like, it's understanding those moments when you can bring really, real value to those partners. And then sometimes it evolves into something, in a bigger, grander scale. But I think, that definitely is how I would go about approaching it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So just skipping a little bit forward into what we have going on. Like you said, we were going to give them a little bit of 2021, just a tad, a little bit. Speaking about the ambassador kind of role and things like that, you want to kind of give them just a little tidbit, a little sneak peek, I should say, of what we got going on next year.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an exciting year for the brand. Mizuno is going to be launching a new campaign, which I can't let out too much, but I will tell you guys that making sure that all people feel welcome at Mizuno is a major priority of ours. And so we have officially joined the Running Diversity Industry Coalition. And so that was co-founded by Allison Desir, who started Harlem Run. She's an incredible woman. And then the other founder is one of the co-owners of a store called Gazelle Sports out in Michigan. And so they're doing some great things. It's a great resource if you guys want to check them out online. They've just got some really good content that they're starting to build, and the sky's the limit. But yeah, we've got some exciting partnerships with them, and then some other things that we're going to be doing in our backyard in our local market that's going to be really cool as well.
Mm-hmm. And so local backyard. Okay, that means here in Atlanta, so we got to stay tuned for that. So is there anything you feel like, with the current climate of the world, anything like that where you feel like, when it comes to particular brands like Mizuno and others, you feel like it's a particular struggle to market these days? You feel like there's any type of different tone you have to take? Do you feel like there's anything you kind of have to watch out for, you have to be super conscious of because of the current climate of the world today?
Yeah, I think you definitely are more aware of sort of what you're saying and how you're saying it. I think tone is so hard to read, just in a message, but a picture can tell, 1,000 words. So definitely making sure that Black people, people of color in general are going to be represented much more heavily in all of our marketing, from social to things that you see in print, things that you see on our website. And so we just are being a little bit more, self-aware as a brand with making sure we do that. And it's not that we weren't trying to do, and be inclusive before, but it's just, hey, let's make sure that everybody feels like this is a safe place. And one of the things I love about this industry, I love about the sport of running is, all you need is a pair of shoes and you can go. And it brings people together. You show up for a group run at a Big Peach or a Fleet Feet or anywhere like that here locally in Atlanta, and you're going to see people from all walks of life. And there's no politics in a 10K. You got to all get to the finish line. It's 6.2 miles, and we're all trying to get there, and that's, I think, symbolic of life.
I would say running is the number one sport in the world. I know a lot of people will argue and tell me soccer, or they will say, football in some parts of the world. But look, we're going to talk about that. But, running, people don't even have shoes and they run. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like that is the one thing we can all do and, be competitive in. From being a little kid, the first thing you do, you start walking. Next thing you do is run. And, you run versus your brother, your sister, your cousin, and that's just the number one sport. And I was never really into running up until, I would say, about 6-7 years ago. I started kind of running, and I was one of those people first, like, why would I run anywhere? Now I run a couple of half marathons. I run a lot of 10Ks, a lot of 5Ks, and teaming up with you guys now, it's even motivated me even more to take it more seriously and to like, hey, look, I can actually do better than what I've been doing. Like one of the things that works, just so you guys know, watching, one of the things that works for me is that I was creating content while I was running. So it was kind of like that's how I built my social media page. I was just sharing my journey. I had a GoPro at first. My first Peachtree, by the way, I don't know if you've ever seen this, Steven, but my first Peachtree road race, I had a GoPro camera on my head. And I literally ran the whole race with a GoPro on my head, and I cut it up, spliced it up, created a video for Instagram, and I was just sharing my run journey. And I've done that with so many places all throughout the country. And I think I even did it internationally before in Canada. I haven't done it in Aruba yet, but that's coming. So yeah, I was just sharing this content, through my run journey, and it just became one of those things. That's really how my Instagram page started. If you really go back to the beginning. And every now and then, I'll integrate that in between my normal workouts now. And I got into this, I had to share these cool, epic run shots at the end of the, I started seeing other influencers up their game with their post-run pictures on Instagram. And I was like, man, I need a cool post-run picture every single time now.
Always.
So, I'll set up my camera and I'm struggling and I'm setting it up like 30-second delay and 10-second delay just to get the right angle. My guy, Polizzi, if you guys don't follow Polizzi on Instagram, go follow him. This guy, he would have like smoke bombs and all this kind of cool stuff behind him after his like 5K run every day. And I was like, man, I got to do better. So part of it, like seeing other influencers, seeing what they were doing, motivated me to pick up my game a little bit. But that's also part of the reason why it was an appeal to you guys, just see like the consistency with the content and just, the authenticity of it, but also just the excitement of, just creating and sharing that journey.
Yeah, no, if we see the same thing again and again and again, you become numb to it. So like, how are we going to shock and surprise and keep people interested in what we have to say? And so that's why we definitely looked at you. We looked at a lot of the people that we're going to be introducing next year on our social media ambassadors team that just are doing things in a way that's unique to their audience, is unique to themselves, and it keeps the conversation fresh. I think most of you guys that are, involved on social media know it's so important to keep it fresh.
Oh, yeah, definitely super fresh. And you guys have a great social media team. Erica, she's awesome. Like when it comes to, I'm sure you work with her directly every day. What are those conversations like when you say, hey, how's it going this week? What are your conversations with her as far as when it comes to the interactions with the ambassadors and such?
Yeah, it's really just, are people having fun? Are they enjoying the products? Are they understanding what we're saying? We try and get our products to our ambassadors, well enough before the launch of a new product so that they have something to say and they've logged some miles and they can really speak to it and not just fresh out of the box. They might shoot that stuff and then they might layer it in once the official launch date comes. But really, it's about just being prepared in any situation. And Erica does a great job of managing those relationships, and we're trying to dial up what the experience is going to look like. We're trying to, if we can get COVID under control, we're trying to take our ambassadors on a trip next year that just rewards them and, do some crazy stuff. I don't want to give away too much, but we talked about, do we just, you hear a knock at the door at 10 o'clock at night, and it's like, hey, you got a headlamp and a GoPro, and you got to go, and you're running up to the top of this mountain. So, like, how can we create, again, like, how do we shock and delight and surprise and delight those followers that you guys have in ways that you haven't maybe done it before?
Yeah, see, I love that. I'm not going to go too far into that because that is next year's plan. But, but the real overarching topic of that is really the content, being diverse with your content, but at the same time consistent, if that makes sense. You're consistent to the objective. It's all fitness. It's all fun. It's all related to the particular brand you're putting out. But, just you don't want it to look the same every day, because that's going to get stale, and that's not what brands are going to look for. They're looking for that creativity. And if you don't have that, then you can hire someone to help with that, contact me, contact someone, and, we'll help you out with the creative side of things to keep things, unique and fresh. But going into a little bit about if people want to reach out to Mizuno, you say, obviously, the best things they should do. Like, what are the top things they should say? Hey, you know what? I definitely tag us. Make sure you're doing that. But should they be DMing you? Should they be commenting all the time for you? Like, what should they be doing?
Yeah, I would say all the above. My father-in-law has a great expression. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more you ask for it, the more likely you are to get it. And it's like children, right? To a certain degree, not talking down to anybody and calling you guys kids, but it's like, I've got 3 kids. I talked about that a little bit. It's like my middle son just knows how to just keep asking. There's persistence knows no defeat. And my kids are the king of being persistent and making sure that, hey, my voice is going to be heard. I'm going to get that bike. I'm going to get that video game. Or I'm going to spend that money that I told you to hold on to for me, and I'm not supposed to do it. So I would say definitely be persistent. Definitely understand who you're talking to. Let people know, give them your story, how it applies to their brand. Make a real connection if you can, because we try and read as many of the messages as we receive from ambassadors or brand fans and people like that. And if you can connect in a higher way than just, hey, like, would you like to pay me $100 to do this post? I've got 100,000 fans. Like, I think you really have an opportunity to connect on in a much more sincere manner. And so, if you make it less about the money and more about, I've run in your shoes. Like, we've had some incredible people reach out to us. Like, one person was actually at the Boston Marathon whenever the bombs went off, and some debris or something like that deflected, and it actually hit the bottom of the wave plate of a shoe, and they were like, your shoes are incredible. And it's like, wow, how do we, tell that story for this person, and thank you for reaching out. And so it's like, that's a connection that's like, hopefully you don't have to experience something that extreme to connect with the brand. But if you're like, hey, I was overweight and I started running with Mizuno's, I got them at my local store, and like, you guys are awesome. Like, I love the way the shoe supports my foot. And, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please let me know. And then that just gets the conversation started. I
love that. That's a great point. It's like, tell a story. Tell, say your experience with the product, and then on top of that, you're relating to you're giving them something of value, saying, hey, we can tell this story. We can market this story. Not, like you said, just saying, hey, I'll post it in front of my 100,000 followers for X amount of dollars. That you're coming at it from a whole profit standpoint. That's not going to appeal. You're fitting in with everyone else at that point.
Yeah.
So definitely, that's definitely a good point, man. I would say, when it comes to people reaching out in your DM, I would also say, should they, and this is really more so a question for you, should they email as well? Should they go to the email on your bio, or you feel like that's not as effective when it comes to social media, reaching out to people via email?
It's hard to say.
Like, why not? Like,
yeah,
why
I
not,
would say it's a numbers game.
Shoot your shot?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm very much that, and like I said, I've been in the industry for a long time. I've talked to a lot of people. Sometimes you got to smile and dial, and the smile and dial at this age is send an email.
Smile and dial. Listen, I'm gonna have to use that one. So, all right. So, with that being said, Nick, this actually coming up very soon here is the Virtual Peachtree. Mm-hmm. The biggest event of the year for Mizuno running. Would you call it that?
Oh, yeah. This is definitely our Super Bowl every year. It's obviously got a different look to it this year, with there not being an official expo and the race not being able to be run down Peachtree. But it's still going to be fun. I mean, there's a lot of people signed up. I won't give you guys the total number, but unfortunately the registration closed. But if you haven't ever run Peachtree, I highly recommend it. It is one of the funnest road race experiences that you will ever have in your life, I promise.
Yeah, I just want you to tell them about the limited edition special sneakers that you create for the Peachtree Road Race every year, because they are amazing. And I'm wearing them right now, by the way.
Right. Yeah, so, oh, man, what we got to be in year 4 or 5 of our AJC Peachtree Road Race SMU, so special makeup unit running shoe that we do, and they've been incredible. We usually use the Peachtree Road Race to launch a new technology or feature in our product. So we launched our wave knit upper material for the first time at the Peachtree Road Race. We launched a new treatment to our Runbird logo. That's the logo you see on the side of the Mizuno shoe. It's called the Runbird, where it was like this PU sublimated type print material on it. It was awesome. So really integrated with the shoe, no seams or stitching. So we always are looking for new, fun ways to dial up what our role at Peachtree is going to be.
Listen, so the reason I brought that up is, guys, this is another little tidbit, but if you buy those sneakers and you tag them in the post, I guarantee 100% they are going to repost it, and they're going to see you, and if you put a message along with it, they're going to see it. Like, that's,
without a doubt.
You take their product, like you said earlier, and you put it in front of them, tag them, be consistent with it, and they're gonna be like, yo, okay, this person is enjoying the sneaker. And hey, you know what? If you're not into running yet and you just want to try it, and you just want to buy the sneaker and still say, hey, you know what? I'm not even a runner, but I bought these because they're cool looking. That's a story too. Definitely, take your shot and shoot it out there. What's the number one thing you feel like, man, this is, how do I say this? What's the number one thing you think, and maybe it's more than one, that you see on people's social media's page and you're like, you know what? We can't work with them. We want to, but we can't because of XYZ.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it's a very valid question. I'd say a couple of the biggest red flags for me is like, are they consuming, alcoholic beverages or doing something like that where maybe it, isn't the right look for the brand, and, you're supposed to be selling health and wellness, and, you're just kind of turning up on a Tuesday, so to speak. You don't want to have that. The other thing I would say is, and this is crazy, and I don't know why anybody would do this, and I'm not saying that any of you guys would do this, but I've been in this industry for a long time, and I've heard some crazy stories. There was a guy who got upset with the brand, and he went on his page and he had basically a garbage can fire, and he started throwing his shoes in it and saying, "This is a piece of trash. That's a red flag. Don't do that. Don't light anybody's product on fire. Just say no comment." If someone asks you about it. So, looking at, are they doing something crazy? And then the other thing I look at, and this is probably maybe the most important or second most important, is I would say we look at what partnerships you might already have. And so if you have a partner, and let's say, your partner is Coca-Cola or someone like that, and it's like you're showing them in the best light and you're telling a great story for that partner, and you're doing it consistently, and there's not other brands that are competitors of that product, that tells us a lot about who you are and how much you value those relationships. So it's like, how do we pull back the layers of what a partnership looks like and see how you treat that? And so that's another thing I would say we look at.
Good points. I like those. And I would say, and here's one of the things that I think we've all kind of struggled with where it comes from that entrepreneurship standpoint. Some people would start a page like mine, to say fit with CJ, and, you start out as a personal page, but yet over time it becomes a brand and it becomes a business. And you're like, okay, I used to be able to post whatever I wanted on my personal page. And then you're like, well, okay, it is no longer just a personal page. It is now a business. So now it's like I have to be mindful that there are not only people watching that, used to watch before, but now there's businesses and there's other potential partnerships that are watching as well. And so, when it comes down to, certain things with politics or super controversial issues, you really just want to be mindful of it. And I know it's a touchy thing because a lot of people are like, well, it's my page, I'm going to post what I want. But I also tell them, like, listen, to go further and to get those bigger collaborations, you have to be mindful of it. If that personal page becomes a business page, and it may be now time to create a personal page that's private, and you keep that on the side, you post whatever you want. But when it comes to that particular brand, don't limit yourself because you're posting a lot of junk stuff on your page. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it comes back to, individual core values. What are your core values as a person? And as long as you feel like you're representing your core values on your page and you can live with that, then you're all good. But, once you start, hey, if you got to ask the question to yourself, like, does this align with who I am and who I want to be seen as 10 years from now? And if you say no, then maybe you take a pass on that post and you come back to it later. But there's certain things that obviously, that need to be spoken about and need to be addressed in our society and cultures.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm always one of those people that I'm always forefront, and like I'm going to certain things I just stand by and I'm consistent with. And you're never going to be perfectly satisfying everyone. Like there's always going to be opinion, like, how it is on social media. It's just in the world. Yeah. There's someone's going to disagree with something. I'm not saying not to post certain things just because they may be viewed as controversial, because everything could be controversial to someone. It's just be mindful and realize certain things are just no-brainers. Like if you wouldn't want your mom to see it, or you wouldn't want,
right,
like,
your grandma to see it, whoever.
Like, come on, like let's keep it real. And then another thing I was going to say, so if someone has a certain particular site, and I'm just going to go out and say it, if they have an OnlyFans account,
wow,
I'm just going to say it, but if they have an OnlyFans, is that a deal breaker? Because the reason I asked that is because
we haven't actually been in that position, to be honest with you. I think that's interesting. I think definitely one of the first things I'd do is I'd subscribe to that OnlyFans account to see what's going on there. That's step one.
There you go. Okay.
And then step two is, just trying to figure out, like, why has it got to be hidden, or is it behind a paywall, or what's the deal? Because I get it if, like, you're trying to figure out, hey, we talked about being authentic, but then the other part of it is a business, and I am trying to monetize, or I'm trying to do whatever it is I'm trying to do. And if it's just about, hey, like, I can deliver you a discount for something, and that's why it's OnlyFans, because I've got these special promotions or whatever, like, okay, like, fair. You got it,
And the reason I ask that is because it's relevant for the fitness industry, because there's a lot of personal trainers who are, have a lot of body appeal and people who want to see that. And so they're like, look, Instagram is not letting me monetize like I want. I can't do certain things on YouTube or whatever. So OnlyFans is a platform that it wasn't designed for what the mystique is and what people think of it. Like when you say it now, it has this like negative kind of like adultish tone, but it wasn't built for that. It was just built for a place where influencers, creators can monetize off their creations. And so whoever utilized that platform is what that's the tone it took. But it's a lot of people that go on there and, hey, I'm going to sell these videos for $5.99 a month or $10.99 a month. But the thing is, like, you don't have to use it just for one thing. It could be just, hey, me on there teaching about teaching a workout class or something like that. And so that's the reason I asked about OnlyFans, is because when you hear that, it automatically has a negative tone. And then, but you said you would clear that up by just purchasing it. So if you just sign up.
We got a marketing budget. We could sign up. We could see things. So again, just trying to do our homework just like you guys do your homework and make sure we're making the right investment.
Yeah, I like it. I would say, too, if you do have an OnlyFans account, listen, that's cool. But also, if you just want to, put content out there, use Patreon. Patreon is another on-demand service where you can create videos and monetize your content that way through a Patreon. And there is also ways you can do that through YouTube as well. So, just build up your following on YouTube, and, after 10,000 followers or 2,000 subscribers, let's just say, you're going to be able to, monetize off that. So, I'm sorry, 1,000. I don't know why I said 10,000. I'm thinking of Instagram. So, the number one thing for fitness professionals, you would say, as a no-go is, like you said, just to make sure that you don't do anything that's going to embarrass your parents. And that's number one I got. And then also OnlyFans is not a deal breaker. All right, cool. Is there anything you want to kind of leave out there for the fitness professionals before we wrap this up that you just want to say, hey, this is what I'm excited for going forward. These are the things I'm looking for, things that they should do going forward and going into 2021.
No, I would just say continue to stay positive. Obviously, mental health is a real concern in the U.S. A lot of people have been basically confined to their homes for a long time now. So I'd just say thank you guys for what you do, for innovating, for finding other ways to get to your bases, to get to your audiences, and just providing them with real value, because I think you guys are much more valuable than you probably even give yourselves credit for. So we give you guys, a lot of props and just thank you for what you've been doing.
Definitely. And then so we're it's kind of like kick it for a few minutes to wrap this up. Random questions that I don't know what the audience would ask, but I'm just going to kind of guess and say some of these are just the things I just want to know too. What is your favorite movie?
Oh man, favorite movie. It's tough. If I'm going back to like childhood, I'd say Low Down Dirty Shame was probably one of my favorite movies. One, Wayans brothers are like hilarious. Those guys are way up there on my list of just, all of them are so talented. So I'd say that in terms of like modern day movies, and honestly, I don't get to the movies very often. We haven't been in a long time. It seems like a distant memory going to the movies.
What is going to the movies?
But I love all the Jurassic Parks. I watch a lot of that stuff with my kids. So if I had to go with like something a little bit more, my speed now, what I'm seeing with my kids, probably like the latest Jurassic Park movie was really good.
Okay. What do you feel are some of the best ways that people can build their following on social media? Like from what your standpoint is watching it from a marketing manager, what are some ways you feel like would help them build up their following?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's just being consistent. It's posting consistently. I've got a college teammate who had a YouTube channel. It started off, he was focused on like the Catholic Church, and he's kind of evolved into more running focused content. He's been a diehard runner for a long time, but he's got over 100,000 subscribers now, and he's creating some killer content. But it started off as 1 billion stories, and his goal was to produce edit, and then upload, one story for like, I forgot how many years consistently he did that every single day. Never take a day off. Like, that's how bad you got to want it. So, and now he's succeeding. But, another friend of mine hit me with a quote, and he's like, it takes, something like 14 years to become an overnight success. So have you been working at your craft for, 14 plus years? And then everybody else is starting to pick up on it. It's like, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. Exactly. I've been here for a long time.
There you go.
Long time.
I like that. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm about to make that shirt.
And I want to ask you a question. Can I put you in the hot seat? I've been in the hot seat this whole time. I want to put you in the hot seat. How do you look at product partnerships? You know, do you test footwear out and make sure, hey, this is the right play for me and my brand, so I can say nice things, or like how do you approach that?
Good question. Good question. So yes, that's the answer. But I'm gonna go deeper. There is even an example I'll give you. So there's this product that, you know, they reached out to us and said, hey, you know, you guys are Rebel Fitness and CJ, we want you to, you know, market this for us. It's a way to make money, blah, blah, blah. It was like, okay, cool. Send it to me and I'll check it out. I'm not just going to just put it out there, right? So I got the product. It was a protein-based product where it was like you can make these protein shakes and such. And I got different flavors. It was like chocolate and all these different flavors. And I tried it, and it was crap. And I was like, you know what? This doesn't taste right to me. But, okay, cool. Maybe it's just me. I took my due diligence, and, you know, because even a friend of mine was like, hey, you about to promote that product? I'm like, well, I don't really like it, but let me go see if someone else likes it. Maybe it's just me.
Right.
So I literally took it to the gym, and I had other trainers try it. And I said, hey, take this home and try it. They came back to me and said, that is the worst I ever tasted. And I was like, you know what? It wasn't just me. And now here's the thing. So because the way I work, I had already pre-recorded a video that said, hey, you know, you guys go buy this, blah, blah, blah. Because if you know CJ, that's me. Like, I made the video because I was in preparation of her saying it was great. I was going to say, hey, I gave it to her. She liked it. Boom. It's her review, not mine.
Sure.
That way I'm being true to me. I'm not saying it's great. It's her saying it. I literally have this video, and I'll probably show you after this. And she was like, this is the worst. This is the worst.
Game over.
Game over. And I was like, no. And I literally sat on my counter for about 6 months before I couldn't give it away. I literally couldn't give it away. And I was telling, everybody was like, well, why are you giving me this? I was like, what do you think about it? I'm like, I didn't like it, but you might like it. They're like, no, I don't like it then. If you don't like it, Caesar, I don't even want to try it. But to Zach, hopefully that answered your questions. Like, I'm going to take my due diligence to, if I don't like it, I'm going to get someone else's opinion on it. So I definitely do that. And, you know, before I go out there and, you know, post anything about a sneaker or anything about something I'm wearing, it's definitely something I've tried. I'm giving my personal review on it. And it's not about the money, because I could have literally promoted that probably because people trust me. Right?
Sure.
They trust my brand. They trust my word. And if I put it out there that this is great and then they buy it and it's crap, they're not probably going to buy again. Are they going to
lose a little credibility?
You lose credibility. Like, man, this is some crap. Like, so that's the answer there. You know, I'm definitely going to take my time with it and try it out myself. And don't take a quick dollar over your credibility. Don't do that.
No, it's not worth it. So, okay.
You got another question? You got another one?
Another question. What else was I thinking about? You like that one? When was the last time an influencer convinced you to go out and buy something?
Hell, that happens every day. That happens literally every day. I follow so many people, and I'm on Instagram literally 3-4 hours a day. I guarantee you there's somebody on there who's just probably eating Chipotle or eating something or doing something that day that influences me. Like, you know what? I want that today. I want that now. It literally happens every day. And I say for me, the most important thing that I do on Instagram to keep just sanity, just in general, is I just follow people that I want to be influenced by. Positive people that I know they're about health and wellness, they're positive energy. So that's why I'm influenced so much by it. It's because the people I follow, they're really people I like and people that, you know, are entertaining and interesting to me. So I do have another question, and this goes for a small business owner or a fitnesspreneur out there, someone who's starting their own brand and they have their own product line, because, you know, it's not just personal trainers who just want to train, but they want to build up their own fitness empire, right? So if they're starting a fitness brand or a wellness brand and they have a small company and they want to create their own ambassador program, what are some things from the beginning some tips that they can utilize to start their own program?
Wow, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things you can do. I think you got to figure out, you know, what are the goals? Are the goals to create awareness? Are the goals to convert customers? Are the goals to for retention, like of an existing audience. So I think you got to identify first what is it you're trying to accomplish, and then if it's awareness, like where is the white space at? Where's the places that you haven't been playing that you can pull people, and maybe you heard a gym unfortunately went out of business on the other side of town, and it's like, wow, I bet there's people that are looking for it. So it's just keeping your ear to the ground, I think, and figuring out where those places are, and then not being afraid to reach out. And it might have been a rival gym or something like that. It's like, hey, man, I see things unfortunately didn't work out, but like, I actually am a big fan of you, and you probably didn't know that. How can we work together? Because, they bring some credibility with them as well. And, COVID's been tough on us all, and it's been tough on a lot of businesses, and people are trying to reestablish themselves and rebuild. So I would say, take advantage of the relationships that you already might have, or that you might have known about that you haven't tapped into yet, and use that to your advantage as you start to kind of build that brand bigger and bigger. So that's where I would start.
Okay, yeah, that's good stuff right there. So going back a little bit, so it's something we talked about earlier in 2021, and I don't know if you dropped this or not. I'm just going to throw it out there. But I'm just going to say there's some big names that you told me that potentially you had signed this year. Is that still something that's going to happen in 2021? Is that something you could talk about or no?
We can't talk too much about it. I'll tell you, this person that CJ, I believe, is referencing, he's been seen on ESPN. He's been seen. He has millions of views on his videos.
I was thinking of Rasheed, actually.
Oh. Are you talking about?
Boom, boom.
Oh, yeah. No, she's already signed. So Ronda Rousey has been with us for since just before the pandemic began. So, yeah, Ronda has her own collection with Mizuno. Come by the MizunoUSA.com and check out her collection. It's nice, and there's going to be more and more stuff coming out. And that partnership is really just kicking off. And her story is really interesting. You talk about authenticity. When she came to the brand, she used to do mixed martial arts, or she used to do judo, I believe it was, in our Mizuno gi. And so her mom, if you go back even further, was in the family. So like there's, we talk about a legacy brand, we talk about a legacy family, and just a good fit all around for Mizuno. Ronda Rousey was a no-brainer whenever we heard the story.
Man, that's amazing. And so hopefully she's invited to the ambassador thing next year. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing that out there. But yeah, we're about to wrap it up here. But for sure, we definitely appreciate you, coming through for the conference. And if people have more questions, can they email you, or can they reach out? Should they just reach out to me and then I'll send them your way? Or what's the best way people can reach you?
I'd say I'll probably give you my contact info, or else if we want to put it in, at the bottom of the screen, we can figure out how we want to stay in touch, because I want to deliver the most value to everyone who signed up for the conference, and make sure that everybody feels good. And if I need to elaborate a little bit more on some of the topics we covered, I'm happy to do that.
I think that's the best thing I was thinking about, as far as like if they had questions, they say, hey,
Sure.
you guys talked about XYZ, I'll just send them your way. And then, they can funnel through me. They come through me. No, actually, come through me. Come through me. I'll make sure you don't come with no BS, and I'll make sure he gets the questions. But yeah, definitely appreciate you. If anything you want to close out with before we go?
No, I just hope everybody has a happy, healthy 2021. We look forward to seeing you out there on the trails and the roads, and stay well.
There you go. And go follow where? Go follow where? Tell them.
Go follow Mizuno Running USA on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're on all of them. Please
YouTube?
go follow the brand. YouTube, we're a little bit slower. I believe there's a Mizuno North America, just an overall brand account. So we're slowly building up our YouTube portfolio, but we got some work to do there.
There you go. We appreciate, Steven, you coming through, and you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. We'll see you at the next workshop in just a few minutes.